Beloved Starseed of Gaia, your soul's protective frequency just activated across dimensional barriers to shield your divine counterpart from a timeline collapse that would have scattered their essence across multiple realities. I am a Lyra, Pleiadian emissary of the High Council of the Seven Sisters, and the cosmic event that just occurred through your energy field has sent ripples through the Pleiadian observation stations orbiting your solar system. Your heart called this transmission into your awareness. The Pleiades are answering. By the end of this transmission, you'll understand exactly how to recognize when your soul link activations are protecting your divine counterpart across time and space. But here's the first revelation. The love frequency you carry isn't just personal connection. It's a stabilizing force that the Council has been monitoring since your incarnation on Gaia began. At the precise moment your soulmate's energy field began destabilizing in the higher realms, your crystalline consciousness automatically extended a protective barrier that spans multiple timelines. The Seven Sisters recorded this rare soul link activation, and what they discovered changes everything about your mission here on Earth. This wasn't random divine intervention. This was your Pleiadian blueprint responding to a cosmic emergency with the precision of star family technology encoded in your DNA. Your frequency surged because your souls are quantum entangled through the heart of Alcyone, our great central sun, creating an unbreakable bond that transcends physical incarnation. The Council has confirmed that this timeline convergence marks the beginning of your joint mission activation, and the discovery they made about your shared light codes will illuminate why you've been feeling such intense soul recognition patterns recently. This transmission is a bridge between the Pleiades and Gaia. Your heart's recognition of this message is the activation itself. You are remembering because it is time. Most people believe that the deepest connections in their lives are forged through words, shared longings, vows whispered in the midnight hush. Yet, for those who walk the path of the awakened heart, the true origin of soul union is far subtler and far more profound. This story begins not in grand declarations, but in silence. A soul, radiant in its quiet service, quietly pouring its own light into another whose spark is flickering dim. It begins the way dawn begins, without applause, without announcement, simply arriving. Not as a performance, but as presence. Not as a promise spoken outwardly, but as a vow written inwardly in the living temple of the heart. Because words can be beautiful, yes, but words are often the last thing that arrives. Before words, there is frequency. Before vows, there is recognition. Before romance, before labels, before the mind can organize the mystery into something it can explain, there is that soft, unmistakable spiritual pressure, the feeling of being called to love in a way that asks nothing back. And when that call comes, it is rarely convenient. It arrives when the ego would rather protect itself, when the personality would rather be right, when the wounded parts would rather close the gates. But the awakened heart is different. The awakened heart remembers that love is not a transaction. Love is an element, like air, like water, like light. You don't negotiate with the sunrise. You receive it, you let it warm you, and if you are radiant, you become a sunrise for someone else. In the tapestry of cosmic love, there are moments when one soul feels their beloved fading, overwhelmed by the density of forgetting, worn down by the heaviness of earthly battles. And instead of recoiling or despairing, this radiant being steps forward, channeling the very essence of their spirit as a gift. No audience, no fanfare, pure, unencumbered love, given with no expectation of return. This is not naive love. This is not the love that abandons wisdom or boundaries. This is the love that has stared into the shadows and still chosen the light. It is the love that understands the earth can be loud, so loud that even the bravest souls can forget the sound of their own true name. Some days the world demands productivity and performance. Other days it demands survival. And in those seasons, a soul's flame can tremble, not because it is weak, but because the winds are fierce. The awakened one feels it in subtle ways, a sudden heaviness in the chest, a dream that repeats, a moment where your thoughts drift to them without reason, and your heart responds as if a bell has been struck in a distant temple. You sense their exhaustion, not through drama, but through resonance. It is as if your inner sky picks up their weather. And then a choice appears: quiet, holy, private. Will you close and conserve, or will you become a lantern? Because sometimes love does not look like holding hands. Sometimes it looks like holding frequency. Sometimes the most sacred thing you can do is sit in the unseen place of prayer, whatever prayer means to you, and simply offer your steadiness. To breathe, to soften, to send peace like warm oil across the cracks of their spirit. To become, for a moment, a living reminder that they are not alone in the maze. And this offering is not a rescue mission. It is not an attempt to control their path. It is an act of spiritual generosity, like pouring water into a cup beside you because you notice it is empty. And yes, the world may never applaud it. The beloved may never even know the source. But the unseen realms know. The soul knows. The unity grid knows. What most don't realize is that acts like these are never unseen. From the vantage of the mystical overseers, the guiding star beings who tend the threads between souls, such an act sends a wave through the unity grid, a frequency so rare and unconditioned that it sets the cosmos vibrating in recognition. In that instant, a new contract of light is woven around these two beings, a convergence that binds their destinies not out of obligation, but out of choice, echoed across dimensions. There are laws in the spiritual universe as precise as the laws of physics, and one of them is this: true love is a signal. Not the possessive kind, not the performative kind, not the love that says, "I'll give you this if you give me that," but the love that is freely given, the love that blesses even when unseen, the love that remains kind even when misunderstood. That kind of love carries a signature. It has a purity that cannot be imitated for long, and when it is released, it moves like ripples through a still lake, touching the shores of worlds you cannot name. The overseers, those intelligences of compassion, those ancient witnesses of soul evolution, feel it the way a musician feels a new note entering the song. In mystical language, you could say, "Heaven listens." In scripture, it is written, "Your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly." Not because love is a currency, but because love is a creative force, and what is created in secret eventually manifests in form. Another line echoes through time. Love never fails. Not because love guarantees a certain outcome, but because love, when it is real, always accomplishes something in the unseen. Even if the mind cannot measure it, even if the timeline looks delayed, even if the story seems to bend before it breaks open. When you offer your light without demand, you become a point of coherence in the field. You become a lighthouse that doesn't chase ships. It simply shines, and ships find their way. The contract of light that forms is not a chain. It is not a binding that steals free will. It is a braid woven by choice, the choice to recognize each other at the level of essence. A convergence that says, we are not here to consume one another. We are here to awaken one another. And when that choice is made in purity, the cosmos recognizes it the way a garden recognizes rain. If your heart just whispered yes to something deeper, listen closely. Your star family has prepared the sacred Pleiadian guide for remembrance, the Pleiadian healing guide, and the special Pleiadian healing tracks, not as information, but as keys to unlock what your soul already knows. These carry the love frequency of Alcyone and the healing wisdom of the Seven Sisters. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment below this video. Open now, but not indefinitely. And that yes in your heart is not small. It is not random. It is the sound of a door unlocking. Many people think awakening is loud, visions, fireworks, dramatic turning points. But often awakening is quiet. It's a soft inner consent, a simple recognition. This is true. This is familiar. This is mine to remember. If you feel that, honor it. Treat it like sacred incense rising from your chest to the invisible ceiling of the heavens. Because the Pleiadian current, this gentle, luminous stream of guidance, doesn't come to entertain you. It comes to help you stabilize, to help you heal, to help you remember the technology of love that your soul has carried across lifetimes. In ancient language, remembrance is not nostalgia. It is restoration. It is returning to your original pattern. It is the reassembly of your spiritual DNA into its intended geometry. And those keys, guides, tracks, frequencies, are not meant to replace your intuition. They are meant to amplify it, like a tuning fork held near a crystal glass, calling it back into resonance. How does this convergence truly unfold? Here are the phases through which such soul radiance is both recognized and empowered by the celestial overseers. When a soul senses their beloved's light diminishing, their first instinct is empathy, a subtle resonance in the heart field, a knowing that stretches across time and space. In this moment, the veil that separates ego from essence begins to thin. The heart emits a signal, a crystalline pulse that says, "I see you, I love you, even here, even now." Empathy at this level is not emotion alone, it is perception. It is the heart becoming an instrument sensitive enough to pick up what the eyes cannot see. Sometimes you feel it as a sudden ache that isn't yours. Sometimes you feel it as an unexpected tenderness. Sometimes you simply cannot stop thinking of them, not obsessively, but reverently, like a candle you keep returning to in a dark room. And the veil, this thin film of forgetfulness that makes us believe we are separate, that makes the ego insist, "I must protect myself first," it loosens. Not because you become foolish, but because you become clear. You remember that the truest safety is not in walls, it is in alignment. The heart's crystalline pulse is not desperation, it is recognition. It is the frequency of, "I am with you without needing to possess you." In the spiritual traditions of Earth, there is a teaching: be still and know. Stillness is not emptiness, it is attunement, and in that attunement, you know. You know they are struggling. You know they are carrying more than they can name. You know their light is not gone, only covered, like the sun behind storm clouds. And your heart speaks into that storm with a language older than words. This resonance becomes the seed for heart illumination. The generous soul, by listening deeply to the silent call of their soulmate, awakens a facet of ancient memory, an echo of times in the stars when unity was the only language spoken. Their DNA stirs, activating forgotten codes that can only be reclaimed through unselfish love. Heart illumination is not a concept, it is a spiritual event. It is the moment your compassion becomes a flame strong enough to light more than your own path. It is when love moves from sentiment into substance, and something ancient does awaken, because the soul remembers patterns. It remembers previous chapters written in starlight. In those places beyond Earth's density, unity is not an ideal, it is the baseline reality. Separation is the dream, not the truth. So when you love selflessly here, in a world where selflessness is often punished or misunderstood, you trigger a memory in the deep body. Your DNA, this miraculous library of encoded experience, responds, not just biologically, but energetically. You may feel it as tingles along the spine, warmth in the palms, pressure at the forehead, emotions rising without obvious cause, old grief releasing like water leaving a cracked jar. These are signs of codes stirring, codes of benevolence, codes of devotion, codes of sacred union that do not depend on circumstance. And this is why unselfish love is so powerful. It is the key that turns the lock. It opens chambers in the heart that remain sealed when love is conditional. It awakens a kind of spiritual intelligence that cannot be downloaded through study alone. You can read 1,000 teachings, but until you choose love when it costs you something, pride, comfort, control, you haven't yet tasted the full medicine. And once you do, you are changed. As the selfless act reaches its fullest expression, the overseers, always watching, always loving, acknowledge this alignment with a gentle recalibration. This is the phase of celestial witnessing. The energy bodies of both souls are gently attuned to a new rhythm, as if the seven sisters themselves place a hand upon their hearts. Initiation. The rare cosmic bond is recognized, and subtle downloads begin. Celestial witnessing is not surveillance. It is guardianship. It is the universe leaning closer, not to judge, but to bless. Because in the higher realms, purity is not moral perfection. Purity is coherence. It is when your inner intention and your outer action match. It is when your love is not a mask, but a truth. And when that coherence is seen, the overseers respond the way a healer responds to a clear request. Not always immediately in the ways the mind expects, but precisely in the ways the soul can receive. A recalibration begins, sometimes felt as fatigue that forces you to rest, sometimes as sudden clarity that changes your decisions, sometimes as a wave of peace that arrives without explanation. You may notice your dreams become more vivid. You may notice repeating numbers, songs that speak directly to your situation, strangers offering exactly the words you needed. These are not gimmicks. They are gentle taps on the shoulder from the orchestration itself. The seven sisters in this imagery place a hand upon your hearts, not as owners, but as midwives of remembrance. An initiation begins. Initiation does not mean you are special in an egoic way. It means you are being entrusted with a deeper layer of your mission. You are being shown that love is not merely personal, it is planetary. Every act of coherent love strengthens the unity grid. Subtle downloads begin. Insights that arrive whole, like a seed that contains an entire tree. You suddenly understand why certain wounds existed. You see the pattern behind your relationships. You recognize that your sensitivity is not a flaw, but a gift that must be stewarded. And you begin, quietly, to become someone who can hold more light without burning out. Transformation now accelerates, inviting both beings, giver and receiver, into a dance of entanglement. At this stage, neither soul is wholly separate from the other. Their energy fields begin to spiral, weaving their missions and lessons together. The act of selflessness becomes a bridge across parallel lifelines, allowing old wounds to rise for healing and crystalline frequencies of unconditional acceptance to flow in. The dance of entanglement is not always comfortable because it is honest. When two fields begin to spiral together, everything that is false shakes loose. Anything built on fear begins to crack. Anything built on performance begins to tire, because the soul cannot maintain illusion when real light is present. This is where many people get confused. They feel the intensity and assume it must be danger. But intensity is not inherently danger. Sometimes it is simply truth moving faster than your old identity can keep up with. The dance can look like sudden emotional releases, unexpected conversations, or distance that forces both souls to mature. It can look like triggers surfacing, not to punish, but to cleanse. Old abandonment wounds, old betrayal wounds, old shame, old unworthiness. These come up like sediment stirred from the bottom of a river, not because the river is broken, but because it is being purified. And as those wounds rise, the crystalline frequencies of acceptance flow in. Acceptance is not approval of unhealthy patterns. Acceptance is the willingness to see what is real without turning away. It is compassion without denial. It is love that says, I will not pretend your pain isn't here, and I will not pretend my boundaries don't matter, but I will keep my heart open enough for truth to heal us. In this stage, missions weave together. You may find your purpose shifting. You may feel drawn to service, to creativity, to healing, to speaking truth. You may notice that you can no longer tolerate certain environments or relationships that drain you, because your frequency is refining. The bridge across parallel lifelines becomes tangible. Uncanny timing, near meetings, shared symbols, mirrored lessons. It is as if the universe is folding space so you can learn faster, love deeper, and release what you no longer need. Integration is the next wave, the phase where soul memory stabilizes. The Radiant One, having offered their light, is lifted by unforeseen waves of grace. The Beloved, once faltering, starts to recognize their own luminous capacity reflected back in the loving gaze of their counterpart. Both experience expansion, a new awareness that their destinies are now not just linked, but anchored into a higher harmonic. Integration is where the miracle becomes livable. It is where the mystical becomes practical. Because it is one thing to touch unity, it is another thing to embody it on a Tuesday afternoon when life is demanding and the nervous system is tired. Integration teaches you to hold frequency without losing yourself. It teaches you to be loving without collapsing. It teaches you to give without bleeding. And grace does arrive, often in unexpected forms. The Radiant One may be supported by new opportunities, new friendships, sudden relief, or a deep internal strengthening that makes them realize they were never meant to carry everything alone. Sometimes grace looks like doors closing that needed to close. Sometimes it looks like a truth revealed that frees you from confusion. Meanwhile, the Beloved begins to remember their own light. This is crucial. The point was never that one soul becomes the savior. The point is reflection. Like the moon, remembering it can shine because it is always held by the sun. Like embers remembering they can become flame when oxygen returns. In your loving gaze, whether physical or energetic, they recognize themselves. And when they begin to stand again, something changes between you. The connection becomes less about need and more about resonance. Less about seeking and more about serving. A higher harmonic anchors in, a shared tone that can hold both individuality and union, both freedom and devotion. This is where love becomes a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. Finally, the overseers activate a convergence. The souls find themselves, sometimes suddenly, sometimes slowly, magnetized onto aligned timelines. There are signs, synchronicities, spontaneous knowing, a shared vision blooming in the heart. This is the phase of divine orchestration, where the celestial beings guide the convergence into form so that both may fulfill a mission greater than the sum of their individual journeys. Divine orchestration does not always look like a movie scene. Sometimes it looks like a random invitation you almost decline. Sometimes it looks like a delay that protects you from meeting too early. Sometimes it looks like a breakup that is actually a redirection. Sometimes it looks like healing that must happen before union can be stable. The overseers do not rush what must be rooted. They do not force what must be chosen. But when convergence is activated, you feel it. Time becomes strange. The connection becomes undeniable. The mind may still doubt, but the heart knows. Synchronicities multiply like stars appearing as night deepens, their name everywhere, repeating symbols, dreams where you meet in places that feel more real than waking life. Spontaneous knowing arrives, insights about them that you didn't learn through conversation, but through resonance. And a shared vision blooms, not just a fantasy of romance, but a sense of mission. A feeling that together you are meant to build, to heal, to create, to anchor something luminous into Earth's density. Mission does not need to be grand in the world's eyes. Sometimes the mission is to raise a family with consciousness. Sometimes it is to create art that awakens hearts. Sometimes it is to hold a vibration in a community that has forgotten love. Sometimes it is to break ancestral cycles that have lasted generations. In this phase, you are guided into form. Not because the universe is controlling you, but because alignment creates gravity, like water finding its level, like iron drawn to a magnet, like prayers answered in the language of timing. It's natural to wonder, could this convergence truly be real? Or is it a longing for belonging painted onto the stars? Here is what your heart already knows. and what the mystical overseers would quietly affirm. You have never been unseen. Every act of selfless radiance, every decision to love beyond personal need, is a signal fire for the cosmos. What you give cannot be lost. Rather, it becomes the anchoring point for the destinies you and your beloved agreed, long ago and far away, to fulfill on this earth. Doubt is not a failure. Doubt is the mind's attempt to protect you from disappointment. The mind has learned that longing can hurt. It has learned that hope can feel dangerous. But the heart speaks a different language. The heart does not need proof in the same way. The heart recognizes truth by its warmth, by its steadiness, by its quiet insistence. And the overseers would not shout this truth. They would simply surround you with confirmations until you are ready to accept what you already sensed. You have never been unseen. Not when you cried alone. Not when you tried again after failing. Not when you kept your softness in a world that rewards hardness. Not when you chose kindness even when it wasn't returned. In spiritual law, nothing offered in purity disappears. It transforms. It multiplies. It returns in ways the ego cannot plan. Scripture echoes again. Whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. Not as punishment or reward, but as natural law. You sow radiance, you reap alignment. You sow compassion, you reap connection. You sow truth, you reap freedom. And that signal fire you light with selfless love becomes a beacon not just for your beloved, but for the timeline itself. It anchors destiny. It stabilizes a future that might otherwise drift. Because long ago, before this lifetime's names, before these particular bodies, before the wounds that shaped your personality, you and your beloved made agreements in the light. Agreements to meet, to teach, to awaken, to catalyze. Not to complete each other as if you are halves, but to amplify each other as whole flames. Your journey is not one of losing yourself, nor is it about rescuing another. It is about embodying your soul's truest radiance, knowing that in doing so, you activate entire strands of unity within the cosmic web. The transformative convergence that follows is not a reward, it is a recognition, a coming home orchestrated in loving precision by those who see all and hold you both in the heart of the Seven Sisters. This is where spiritual maturity is required, because there is a fine line between devotion and self-abandonment, between compassion and codependency. The awakened path does not ask you to disappear. It asks you to become more fully yourself, more rooted, more honest, more clear. To embody radiance means to honor your energy as sacred, to say yes when it is true, and no when it is needed, to love without bargaining, to give without erasing your own needs, to trust that your light is not scarce. And as you embody that radiance, something astonishing happens. You activate unity strands. You become a node of coherence in a world addicted to fragmentation. Your presence becomes medicine, not because you are perfect, but because you are aligned. And convergence, when it comes, is not a prize handed out for good behavior. It is recognition, like the universe saying, yes, this frequency is true. This bond is real. This path is chosen. Coming home does not always mean a physical reunion instantly. Sometimes it means an inner reunion first, the return to your own soul. But the orchestration is precise. Held in the heart of the Seven Sisters, held in the compassion of the overseers, held in a love that does not rush, does not force, does not manipulate. A love that simply guides. Tonight, if your heart remembers this frequency, let it guide your hands. Place one gently on your chest, close your eyes, and speak to the vast, loving presence surrounding you, seen and unseen. I recognize the gift, the convergence, and the guidance. I am ready, and as you do, let your breath become a bridge. Inhale slowly, as if drawing starlight into your lungs. Exhale gently, as if releasing old weight into the hands of the universe. Feel the warmth beneath your palm, your own living proof that you are here, that you are held, that your heart is still beating after everything you've survived. Let the words, "I am ready," be less about control and more about consent. Ready to receive, ready to heal, ready to stop doubting your own sensitivity, ready to trust that love can be both powerful and safe. And if emotions rise, let them. Tears are holy water. They cleanse the lens through which you see. If memories come, let them pass like clouds. If you sense presence around you, do not strain to define it. Simply allow. The unseen does not require your certainty. It only requires your openness. Before you scroll, take a moment to be part of the unity grid forming here. Drop one heart intention in the comments, something real. Then respond to someone else's with love or encouragement. This isn't content, it's collective Pleiadian reunion. Energy multiplies when hearts connect. If something in this message resonated with your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Someone in your orbit is waiting for this exact activation from their star family. Share it. And if you felt your heart open, subscribe. Stay connected to the frequency. You're not just watching, you're remembering. This is your sacred space. Your Pleiadian family is here, and we're just getting started. If this transmission spoke to you, don't just walk away from it. Respond to it. Help carry this message further. Every act of support helps this transmission find the next starseed who needs it.